The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call the honourable member Megan Woods.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, as the Minister said, that this should have been an important day for New Zealand science and for our growth agenda and the place of science and innovation in New Zealand's economic future. But instead what we have is an overwhelming sense of underwhelming, that people see this as an opportunity lost and an opportunity squandered by this government. A significant amount of money is being invested into establishing the Callaghan Institute, and we on this side of this House fear that it will fail to deliver. We are voting for this legislation because we want to see it succeed, but throughout the passage of this bill through this House and through the Select Committee stage, we have pointed to a number of flaws that we see in this model, and we still urge the Establishment Committee, that has been given an incredibly wide remit under an incredibly permissive piece of legislation, to take into account some of these concerns. Because this is a national government opposite that since the lead up to the 2008 election that has promised big on science and innovation. But like in so many areas, it's full of big talk, grand ideas, but broken promises. And over we hear this, that this is a government that is committed to science and innovation and research and development. But let's have a look at the election 2008 promise, where it promised to use a third of the funding that it was going to crib back by cutting the research and development tax credit, and that was going to put that into other areas of science and innovation funding. This would have amounted to around $315 million over 3 years. Well, $100 million over 4 years was found, but this was largely from underspends in previous years. This was money carried forward. This is a whole lot of creative accounting from the government opposite, and not only creative accounting, but the reversal of commitments. What we've seen is this is a government that isn't committed to science and innovation. It is a government that has slashed postdoctoral funding in this country. If anyone on the other side of the House thinks that we can have an economy that is based on science and innovation without adequately funding the critical phase of postdoctoral research, they are kidding themselves. The Callaghan Institute and our future in advanced manufacturing lies in the fact that we will have the scientists and the engineers with the necessary experience to staff this institute, and they just are not committed to that. But even worse than slashing the postdoc funding, and it doesn't get much worse than that if you want an economy based on this, they're going to stop that, they're going to solve that problem, because people won't get to be postdocs in this country, because this is a government that will not give the student allowance for people to do doctoral research anymore. It is not something that it sees as important. So we can talk big about the role of science and innovation and big ideas and clever ideas and smart New Zealanders and what they can contribute to this country, but members opposite will not even back New Zealanders to go on and do masters or PhD research. I would be very interested to hear how they think that we can have an economy that is based on science and innovation within this climate. What we have seen is that this is a government trying to make a big deal out of a whole lot of new funding with this. They're trying to catch up, and they're saying that there's $166 million going into this. Well, so much. The reality is there was only a small fraction of this is new funding. It's about shifting the deck chairs, and there has been a lot of shifting of the deck chairs in this portfolio. If we have a look at the ever-changing movement of the department that administers science and innovation in this country, and we look at the cost of one of the rebrands alone for the Ministry of Science and Innovation, $420,000 was spent on coming up with the new name and the new logo, and it was all meant to be about the importance that we placed on science and innovation. $420,000 was spent for an 18-month iteration. Is this good use of science and innovation funding? No. But as we have said throughout the passage of this legislation, we have three main concerns with the Callaghan Institution and things that we urge to be addressed. We heard the Minister talking about the need for there to be collaboration. It is our fear that this is an organisation that is being set up that makes collaboration inherently difficult, fraught and full of tensions. And central to this is our concern over the funder-provider division. The other concern that we have is for this to work, the right people need to be having input and giving this organisation direction. And what we haven't seen from government members is a commitment to setting up the structures that mean the right people can have input into this. But I think one of the most concerning things for me is after all this time and all this PR spend and the newsletters that are going out and meant to be informing people of what's going on, we have our scientific community begging the ministry and the government to please tell them what's going on. People within the scientific community simply have no idea what the Callaghan Institute is going to be, and actually members opposite will be very light on detail as well. Because, as I said, this is incredibly permissive legislation. It's going to be set up by the 1st of February, but the detail, the incredibly important detail that will dictate whether or not this organisation succeeds or fails, has yet to be fleshed out. When we have the very scientists who are meant to be working with and in this organisation saying, please tell us what it is, I have real concerns. We're into December. This is going to be up and running by the 1st of February 2013. We're told, but we've been told lots of dates for the establishment of the Callaghan Institute, so we will watch with interest for that 1st of February debate. We see that this is a bill that once again reflects National's lacklustre and half-baked approach to science and innovation policy. It doesn't see the interconnections throughout the other parts of government, and it certainly doesn't reflect a government that is committed to taking hold of our economy, being hands-on and being the force that will drive economic growth in this country. Because, as I've talked about, in order to achieve benefit to New Zealand, the Callaghan Institute needs to have robust and meaningful input from industry. And it was a concern to government members that really there was very little industry input into the Select Committee stage. That what we had is we had one submission from the New Zealand Manufacturers and Exporters Association, which was the most meaningful industry input we had, and this was a submission that was negative about the ability of the structure that is being proposed in this legislation to deliver. It expressed extreme doubts, and in fact most of the submissions are those supporting the organisation pointed to concerns they had and asked for changes to be made, changes that the government members have not been willing to make to the set-up of this organisation. The ATI must be set up that clearly marks out the area that it works in. We are not seeing that. What we are seeing is an organisation being set up that others within the scientific network in New Zealand are fearful of. They have no idea where it sits within the landscape, they have no idea what its purview is, and they don't know the area in which it will be operating. We have asked for this to be cleared up throughout this legislation, and we haven't seen it. We heard the Minister talk about collaboration being crucial. But the Minister was talking about collaboration between businesses when you listened carefully to his speech. I guess what we on this side of the House realise is that if the Callaghan Institute is to succeed, not only does it need to be able to collaborate with businesses, and something we are committed to seeing happen, but we know the collaboration between the people that drive innovation in this country, the scientists and the engineers need to be there. And this is an organisation that is structurally not set up to address this. There are also grave fears within the scientific community that the research focus that is required for real innovation to emerge is not there. That this is an organisation that won't keep committed to the excellent research that IRL is currently undertaking. And this is a concern because you cannot separate out commercialisation from basic and fundamental research. This is a hurried piece of legislation that we would have liked to see more questions answered. We want to see it succeed, but Labor is supporting it with grave reservations.
I call the honourable member Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker,